Vairishi Ka Khalsa, Vairishi Ki Fateh. I'm Gurpreet and welcome to the Sikhlens YouTube channel. Today our guest is Harinder Singh, an active member of the Sikh diaspora in the UK. Harinder has published stories from the Sikh world for children. He has also conceptualized and compiled the recently launched book published by Sikhlens called Jewels of Sikh Wisdom, A Journey of Discovery. Harinder is a regular participant in interfaith dialogue forums in the UK and has also recently been involved in producing Sikh-centric 3D animation films. Welcome, Harinder ji, to Sikhlens.
Thank you very much.
So, Harinder ji, we'll be talking about Hukam, Journey through Japji Sahib right now. What is your understanding of Hukam?
Gurpreet ji, the concept of Hukam is central to the understanding of Sikh Dharam, or righteous path of living, that is mostly referred to as Sikhism, a term that was coined by the British. Our gurus established dharamsalas, abodes for the dissemination and practice of dharmic living. That is why we are called Sikhs, learners on the path of righteousness. In Guru Nanak's Japji Sahib, we are encouraged to overcome our corrupt egos, to cultivate and activate our virtues. Life is a workshop to empower, encourage, uplift others, and thereby enlighten our own souls and leave behind a worthwhile legacy. Everything happens within Hukam, the law of the universe. But this Hukam is not random. It is dependent on our deeds, good or bad. First of all, I would like to give gratitude to Kaur for helping me to try and understand some of the concepts embedded in Japji Sahib and Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I shall be exploring the concept of Hukam as elaborated and explained by Guru Nanak in Japji, with special reference to what is in the recently launched book, Jewels from Sikh Wisdom, A Journey of Discovery. This book is beautifully illustrated by the renowned artists, the Singh Twins, compiled by me, and this book has benefited from the very creative writing and transcreation by Dr. Gopinder Kaur and published by Sikhlens USA. Japji Sahib starts with the Mool Mantra, our root belief. And then very quickly, the first fundamental concept explored in this Bani is a question posed by Guru Nanak Sahib, Kiv sachiara hoiye, kiv kude tutte par. This is the beauty of Guru Nanak Sahib because he does not preach. He is posing questions throughout Japji Sahib at very vital points. Guru Nanak delves straight into posing the question of how we can inculcate the truthful living in our day-to-day existence. How can we become authentic instead of fake? How can we tear away the veil of deception and let the glow of truth shine through? He now answers his own question for our benefit. Hukam rajai chalna nanak likhya naal. Hukme andar sab koi, bahar hukam na koi. Nanak hukme je buche, ta humme kahe na koi. Guru Nanak is explaining that we need to live as per the divine laws because we are all governed by this divine commandment. He then goes on to say that those who understand this law lose their ego.
So, if we are governed by Hukam or divine will, do we have no control over it? Are we pre-programmed robots? Is it a random lottery? Can you explain further?
Gurpreet ji, no, we are not pre-programmed robots. This is a misunderstanding. Hukam or divine law is the pivot around which the entire creation exists, and hence it is vital to have an understanding of what Hukam really means. Guruji is explaining to us that in order to become dharmic, righteous beings, we need to accept and understand the concept of Hukam. Very often a very negative connotation is attached to Hukam. That is divine will, and there is nothing we can do about it. It's a passive acceptance. Acceptance is important, but it needs to be very dynamic. Hukam is not something that has been randomly allocated like a lottery, take it or leave it. No, Hukam, I understand, is very dynamic.
So then, what exactly is Hukam?
Hukam is the divine commandment. Some may call it divine will. By the divine command of Ik Onkar, the entire universe came into being. Hukam, the first hukam or commandment, resulted in creation of the entire universe.
Yeah.
Within this creation, the creator exists in every speck, every atom, every nuclei of creation, and has infused within it the law of nature, the law of divinity, law of Ik Onkar. This law is running intrinsically through everything, shaping, ordering, and directing all there is. From the exquisite geometric and artistic configurations occur in the natural world to the processes of birth, growth, and death, and experience of dukh and sukh, sorrow and joy. Through the second command or command, God ordained that thou shalt follow the laws of the universe. Yes, within these parameters, the creator or creation functions as per this ordinance. But there is a method to this ordinance, like the laws of countries. The whole creation works as per this law, and humans are the only ones who have been blessed with the capacity to think good or bad. But it's not a fixed, pre-written destiny. As I said, it is positively dynamic. Just like we have laws of the country we live in, and if we violate these laws, then we are punished. It might take days, weeks, months, or sometimes even years before the law catches and punishes us. Similarly, Hukam is the law of the universe, governing the planets, nature, animals, and us human beings. If we violate these laws, then we will be punished. Maybe not immediately, but it will happen. It is like a boomerang, which comes back to the same spot where it was launched from. As Guru Nanak said, what you sow, so shall you harvest. So to me, it is not passive submission, but a realization that these laws exist and that we need to listen to the voice of caution that speaks to us when we do something wrong. God has given us a certain amount of freedom, but there is a limit to that as well. Like a fish can swim, but if it wants to run on land, it cannot. It has its limits.
So then in that case, where is this hukam or divine will written?
Hukam, my understanding is that hukam is an unwritten law and is infused into the planets and all beings as they operate as per this law. Only in human beings it is infused within our conscience. 24/7, our conscience is our gatekeeper, a CCTV camera, which is recording all our thoughts, words, and actions. My own personal opinion is that there is no Chitragupt sitting up there in the clouds recording our karmas. Chitragupt term is from an ancient Hindu text, and this was used around 500 years back by Guru Nanak to explain the concept of remaining in hukam to the audiences of that time. Each time we commit a misdeed or contemplate something wrong, there is a voice inside us which tells us, no, don't do this. It may be something quite minor, like going to a store checkout, and the checkout lady by mistake gives us back some more change. Do we say to the lady, you have given me more money? No, most of us just pocket it and think, well, it's a big store, they won't miss a few bucks. But this action is recorded in the black box within our own conscience. And I like to think that this recording is downloaded, uploaded into God's iCloud instantly. God's iCloud is not 1 terabyte memory or even 100 terabyte memories, but limitless terabytes that are uploading everything. If we keep on doing little misdeeds, these will lead us to doing some more harmful acts like nindya chugli, backbiting, slanging someone's reputation because of jealousy, pulling someone down in order to gain promotion, abusing and indulging in violence, etc. What happens then is that ultimately we have infected our soul, our conscience with so many viruses that this voice stops warning us. And at that time, we have regressed from being human beings and have descended to the level below even animals, because even animals like dogs can be very faithful. And even if we feed them with dry crumbs, they will not leave our door and will guard us always. That is the intrinsic nature.
I really like your contemporary comparisons. This makes it very relevant to the younger generation especially. So in that case, what actions are required of us to remain within Hukam or divine will?
Thank you, Gurpreet ji. I would like to say firstly, awareness is needed. I and all of us need to be very aware of what we are thinking, what we are uttering from our mouths, and what deeds we are committing.
Okay.
The only way to come back to being dharmic beings is to download divine antiviruses that have been given to us in plenty by Guru Nanak and the other gurus and Sufi saints and bhagats through the wisdom contained in our holy scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib. The planets are revolving around the sun, but if a planet deviates from this orbit, then it is lost forever. Similarly, Guru Granth Sahib is our sun, the pivot around which we need to orbit. But if we deviate from the orbit, that is the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib, then we too will become lost and suffer mental breakdowns, illnesses, relationship problems, inability to sleep unless we down a few pegs, or drugs to become zombie-like and forget all the bad deeds we have done. Guru Nanak advises us that hukme andar sab koi, bahar hukam na koi, Nanak hukme je buche, ta hume kahe na koi. This is an egoless state of acceptance, whilst being a change maker, to have a wider perspective and see beyond the self, beyond the internal voice of our ego. Through the divine order, the path keeps unfolding. And says Nanak, the one who follows this divine law blossoms forth carefree, untroubled, and forever in bliss. Okay. Those who understand this hukam will gradually lose all their negative ego, the ego of self-importance, which makes our mind react angrily or negatively to any suggestion that we could be wrong. Guru Nanak in the fourth pauri again asks a question. Fer ki agge rakhiye, jit disse darbar, moho ki bolan boliye, jit sun tare pyar. What offerings, he says, can we make to glimpse the divine kingdom? What words can we utter to evoke God's love? And then Guruji again answers his own question for our benefit and says, Amrit vela sach nao vadiyai vichar, karmi ave kapda, nadari mokh dwar. Which means that in the sublime sacred hours before dawn, get up and lovingly contemplate and meditate on the greatness of the true name. Thank God for all that He has given us, and most importantly, through our deeds, we determine our destiny and what costume, body, we will adorn in this lifetime and in another lifetime.
In that case, how do we subdue our egos to become better human beings?
I think perhaps we should just stop and introspect on how insignificant we are in this universe. Okay. We are not even a speck.
Okay.
Do we realize that planet Earth is suspended in midair, revolving around the sun anti-clockwise at a speed of over 1450 kilometers per hour? But we feel we are stationary. Like clockwork, the revolution is completed in 365 days and a few hours, and then starts again. Is that not a miracle? But it is all operating as per the divine hukam, the divine law. Bhagat Pipa says in Guru Granth Sahib, Jo bharmande soi pinde. Our bodies are astonishingly similar to the universe. Scientists now posit that the universe has a shape similar to the human brain. In the limited knowledge of scientists, they think that there are about 100 billion galaxies. But Guru Nanak had said, Patala patal, lakh akasa akas. So, which basically means that there are hundreds of thousands of galaxies and skies, limitless. All speculations and writing about the extent of the universe are futile, as the extent can never be known. There are, as per scientists, roughly 70 billion neurons in the human brain, and there are roughly 37.2 trillion cells. Each of these cells is a system by itself. They replicate the solar system. Each atom contains a nucleus. Think of it as a sun with orbiting electrons. Think of them as planets orbiting the sun. There is a lot of empty space around these atoms. If all the spaces between these particles that make up our atoms and spaces between atoms were removed, that is compressed, so that all the particles, electrons, protons, and nuclei were pressed together, the entire human race would fit into a size less than a sugar cube.
Wow.
That's how insignificant we are. Now, the question posed by one of my friends who has a scientific bent of mind, he said, why do you think the Creator left these vast empty spaces in our bodies? He says that in Maya, the delusion created by the divine, this space is occupied by the 5 thieves of Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ankar. Kam means lust, Krodh is anger, Lobh is greed, and Moh is attachments. God, my friend says, is waiting for us to evict these illegal occupants so that the divine wisdom of God can occupy this space. This is a good rational explanation.
Yeah.
But God did not give us these 5 thieves as Maya to entrap us. These 5 were given to us to use wisely as our friends, because without these 5, we cannot progress in life. But our excesses have converted these friends into our foes, and they are burning us from inside. So, my friends, it's very important that we introspect on this hukam, the law of nature. Guru Nanak advises us that as if we act as per this law, consciousness, divine knowledge, and understanding are required. And the mind that is attuned to God has no fear of death. Dharmic people have a clear conscience with love and compassion for all humans, animals, and nature. Our greed and ego has resulted in causing destructive havoc that we have perpetrated on our Mother Earth. Polluting the air, water, land is an invitation for destroying our only habitable planet, and the human race is hurtling towards self-destruction unless we course correct. Our actions are totally against divine hukam, the law of nature. As Guru Nanak says, "Ape beej, ape hi khao." What we sow, so shall we harvest.
I really like your scientific explanations. It makes it very, very interesting. You've talked about nature. So in the Sikh scriptures, is there any mention of nature?
Yes, there are many, many hymns about nature in Guru Granth Sahib.
Okay.
In Japji Sahib's epilogue, Guru Nanak speaks to us about the role of nature and why we should respect it. Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Tarat Mahat Divas Raat Doi Dai Daya Khele Sagal Jagat Changiyaiyan Buriyaiyan Vache Taram Hazur Karmi Apo Apni Ke Nede Ke Dur. The first couplet of this ode to nature opens with the simplicity of a nursery rhyme. It sings of the air as Guru, Pavan Guru, water as Father, Pani Pita, and the great Mother Earth as Mother, Mata, Dharat, Mahat. These are nature's essential life-giving elements. First, air gives rise to water, which then enable life on earth. Without their constant selfless giving, we could not exist. To see them as caring personalities and not simply as commodities inspires a sense of reverence and changes how we relate to them. These elements also spark our biological existence, for there is a meeting of water as father and earth as mother when life is conceived in the soil of the womb. Next, day and night are depicted as 2 caregivers. Turn by turn, they watch over the entire earth as it revolves around space like a child at play. Khele Sagal Jagat. Living on the planet, we are all involved in some form of play, like an extension of a childhood nursery. Even as adults in daily life, we take on different roles, put on different costumes, and use different objects for some purpose, and as we once did in our play corners with our toys. We grow up to play our parts in different worlds, the world of home, school, or work, the world of our cultural or religious communities, or the world of politics, or of our favorite hobbies. Each world is like a game with different expectations and rules, signs and symbols, points and rewards. For some people, the game of life is about pursuing material or social success. For others, we are caught in the play of life's force in a game we can never win. In Japji Sahib, Guru Nanak places the flourishing of the spiritual self at the heart of any vision of success in human life, to harness the best in us to become life's active players. Day and night in this line could also then suggest the world can play in darkness or in light, asleep or awake to life's greater purpose. The second couplet reminds us that however we choose or are influenced to play the game of life, we will all be accountable for our good and bad deeds, changiyaiyan, buriyaiyan, in the end. These include the unseen thoughts and intentions, as well as the outward actions, which are recorded deep in our conscience. In Indian tradition, the record keepers were visualized as the angels, Chittar and Gupt, or as one deity, Chitragupt, and the assessors as the figure of Dharmraj, who hears and judges our account. These can be seen as metaphors for our mind's inbuilt process of surveillance, which helps us better ourselves through enhancing our self-awareness. In this slok, the hearing in his quote, Vache Taram Hazur, is evoked to underline the need to live with greater awareness, integrity, and responsibility. For on life's game board, it is our deeds which take us nearer to or further from a state of harmony with the divine. Karmi apo apni ke nere ke dur. This second couplet reminds us also of the 5 khands or realms of Japji Sahib, where dutiful action, awareness, and effort lead us towards experiencing divine grace and divine truth. The third and final couplet of the slok is joyful and generous in its tone. It portrays those rare people who have lived their lives focusing their awareness on the divine name, and who depart from the world after toiling earnestly to fulfill life's opportunity. Jinni naam tihaya kaye mushakat kal. The faces of such enlightened and dedicated people are radiant, for by finding liberation, they liberate many others with them. Nanak te mukh ujle keti chutti naal. This closing couplet encapsulates the threefold motto which Sikhs later coined to sum up Guru Nanak's teachings: Naam japo, kirat karo, vand ke chako. Remember the divine name, live a truthful, hard-working life in honor of the Creator, and share with others the fruits of our secular and spiritual labor. It also leaves us with a vision of freedom and selflessness. We glimpse the possibility of achieving a state of zero gravity, which is free from the pull of self-absorbed ego and which enables the freedom of others.
You have had some very interesting analogies, and thank you so much for your talk on Hukam through the bodies of the Japji Sahib. Thank you very much for watching the Sikhlens YouTube channel, the talks that we've had on the spiritual path in Sikhi, as well as the oneness of all humanity. Thank you very much, and do stay tuned for our future programming. Thank you.